A former PBA Rookie of the Year, Steve Hoskins. And we're using lanes 33 and 34 here at the Hollywood Bowl, and Norm Duke will start the match, and he tidies up with a little piece of tape at the last second going into the thumb hole.
Well, like you mentioned right here, Mike, it's very warm outside and probably in the high 90s, so there is some humidity in the building, and I think the player's hands are very moist, and he's just trying to make sure he doesn't lose that first shot maybe.
Not over the age of 30 now, 31. Well, starts with that light strike.
You'll see a variety of shots. We've got 5 players. Obviously, the left-hander, Hugh Miller, will be playing them different, but the other 4 are right-handers, and they'll be playing all over the lane. Each player, because of the way the PBA has conditioned the lanes this week and because we have a very flat, smooth surface, can play a variety of shots, Mike, and get there from a variety of angles. That one didn't quite make it.
So when you say that, is a guy that hooks the ball a lot like Steve Hoskins going to play more toward the center of the lane, or how will he approach it?
I would think he would be playing more toward the middle of the lane. That shot seemed to get away from him a little bit. Got it too wide. There is an out of bounds. If you get it too far out to the right, the ball will skid on you. And if you get into the middle of the lane, there tends to be more oil. You can have the ball hang up for you a little bit, crossing over on spares. Here's a look at the style of this young man. This guy's been on the tour 8 years. He's got 3 championships, and watch how deliberately he plays. Look at the cupped wrist. Keeps it cupped all the way through the swing, all the way to the top of the big high backswing. Remember, he's only 5'5". And look at the power in that release. Kind of rears back at the end in the shot, and that's what gives him a lot of that lift on the back end, the real hard hit on the back end. A little better shot there.
And that violent pin action from all that revs going down the lane. Both these guys 5'5", a little difference in the weight.
A little difference in the weight, yeah. I don't think Norm wants to wrestle him, but he'll bowl anybody. Norm Duke's not afraid of anybody. This guy here is one of the more talented players you'll ever meet. Remember, if you were watching last week, our expert analyst, Brian Voss, helped us out a little bit and talked about how Norm Duke is capable of changing his rotation, his ball speeds, the loft, playing anywhere on the lane. He can hook it, he can go straight. This shot right here, I think, is one of the strongest parts of his game. When he can stay behind the ball, go up the back of the ball, end over end, and keep it in the pocket area, he eliminates the lane taking him out of the game. If there's a trouble spot in the lane, he can go right through it or around it, either way.
So his decision this week is that the way the lanes are conditioned, he wants to go straighter.
He wants to go up the back of the ball, forward roll. That one got away from him. Hooked a little early on him, and Norm's not happy with that shot. That was just a mistake that he made, and you can see him shaking his head a little bit. His reaction, the 3-6-10 here, not an easy spare. Remember, I mentioned that spares are tough when you cross the center of the lane because the oil is heaviest in the middle. Ball skid or hook. You never know what it's going to do. You have to be very careful.
At the 3-6-10, converts it.
That caused a little faster heartbeat there, I think. That one started to hook on him.
Hoskins trying for a double that would give him an early lead in the match. Well, that big hook went over to the Brooklyn side. We talked to him earlier about that big hook and how he developed it. This is what he had to say.
Just bowling at home. You know, the lanes tend to hook sometimes. You got to play a little deeper. I grew up bowling in a house that wasn't extremely easy, so you kind of had to do a little something to it to get it to hit. And that's pretty much how I developed a power game.
Well, so far that power game's a little wild on the right lane, but he
well,
did
that's
get the double.
That's kind of a natural reaction, don't you think? Get one ball that sails on you, and it's early in the match. That's another one that sailed. He got it way too wide. Until the lanes go through a transition. The players did practice on them for a while, but the lanes will go through a transition. The oil will move a little bit, and as resin-reactive bowling balls absorb the oil and pick it up, it'll change the pattern how the ball reacts to the lane surface.
Now, Earl, from what I heard from the players all week long, early in the morning rounds, the lanes were tougher. Why was that?
Well, just what we're seeing right now. The oil is still too fresh in the head area. The ball wants to skid. If they give it a little room, it skids too far. If they go more direct, the ball wants to hook early.
Well, we've got an even match right now. Hoskins and Duke. Duke on lane 34. Perfect.
Well, most of the shots Duke makes seem to end up being pretty perfect, Mike. He's one of the best shot makers on the tour, as evidenced by the fact that he's currently the player of the year.
Won 5 times last year.
Won 5 times last year, and it's amazing that he's not having quite that kind of a year again, but sometimes it just kind of gets away from you. You have a great year, and it's hard to maintain your concentration for the following year.
Yeah, he's only made 30,000 so far this year, and he made 270 last year.
A little better shot there. Stay behind it longer, and looks like he got a little more ball speed, Mike. Kept it on line.
Hoskins, who's been basically lost on this right lane, did manage to get a double crossing over. We'll see what kind of adjustment he's going to make here.
I think he's a little confused on the right-hand lane, but I talked to him, and he said he's ready to win. He feels good, and he feels like his game's in shape, and he likes the shot. Hit him thin and watch him spin.
Well, the Tour de France is coming up tomorrow. It's stage 15, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, presented by Michelin. And Steve Hoskins is looking to ride in on that strike for a double here.
Well, he can't afford to let Duke get away. Once Duke gets it going, he's a great front runner. If you let him get away from him, you'll never see him again.
Ooh, an unusual 10-pin there on that light mixer hit.
Normally they'll carry those hits. That resin reactive ball usually gets the pins really flying across the lane. That one didn't do the job for him. The head pin just stayed out over on the left side. Kind of trapped over there with the 4 and the 7.
Is it always the head pin that comes back across?
Well, not always. For you, it was a 5.
Oh,
I mean, you used to hit him so hard, Mike. You had it.
And there's Lisa Hoskins rooting her husband on.
I think he got her a little nervous in that 10-pin. The ball almost went to the left of it.
Well, he's been known to miss a spare now and then.
That's true. Norm Duke. Norm's always thinking. He comes up with different things to make his game stronger, seems like every week.
Well, he hasn't missed on that lane.
We're going to take a little look at Norm's footwork. Now watch his left foot. Watch what he does to start his approach. You see him hitch the right knee. Now watch the left foot go back. What that does is gets Norm's shoulders out front, makes him rush a little bit to catch up with his body weight. He feels by getting the faster feet and getting his weight out front, he can actually get more strength or lift on the ball, more rotation. And when he can do that, he feels like he's a better player.
Trying for 4. Knocks that 10-pin out of there. Norm Duke distancing himself right now. He's leading by 30 pins. We're going to go to break right now.